It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson. Jeremy Bradley here. This is The Scribble. Yeah, I've made no secret about my lack of interest in social media. And that goes back to even when I was on the radio. You know, when I was hosting our syndicated radio show, shows, plural, there was the Top 40 show and the Country show. Social media at the beginning was not around, right? We're going back 20 years now. So then I was a late adopter. I was going to say late bloomer, but that's not what I mean. I was a newbie to Facebook. People were on Facebook. I had no interest in it. Now, I guess the thing for me was I had platforms to express myself and, you know, share my thoughts and be heard and seen and whatever, right? I was on the radio and then I was also in the newspaper. I had a weekly newspaper column. So any kind of rant or opinion that I had, well, I put it in print and then people could read it, right? So social media wasn't of interest to me because I was already doing that. But when we were producing our programming, it became sort of a necessity, right? It was one thing to have your own website, yes, which we still do have them up there, I believe. So you can see the content from our travel shows or celebrity interviews and red carpets and things like that all these years later. So it is kind of fun to still see that. But you had to reach people where they were tuning in, right? It was no longer a simple fill out our web form and contact us. And then it was email us, right? Email the show. Well, then everybody wanted to do social media, right? They want to message you on Facebook. They want to tweet you or DM you or whatever it was. So I wasn't on Facebook. And so they said, all right, well, let's make one. And so we made the JB On Air page. And I've never shared things about my family before. So the page has never been about me hanging out with my brothers or me, you know, going to the park with my nephews and doing things like that. And even really, there's not very much stuff with my husband. So it was always about work stuff. It was always about promoting what was on the radio shows or coming up in the newspaper or whatever it might be. So I never got into that whole, you know, exposing my life and oversharing things. I do that sort of on the podcast here, but I'm more telling stories and opinions and experiences. I'm not doing a big deep dive into my relationship, right? I've never gone and said, you know, my husband just doesn't, because that's nobody's business. And secondly, I don't think that anybody cares. I've never had even when I was on the radio and we had, you know, 300,000 listeners or whatever the number was, I never once thought people are going to care about what I'm having for lunch today. Ever. I've never had that ego about myself. As much as I joke and I'll make comments about, best-selling author and, you know, I've never felt that, I'm going to be recognized on the street. I better, you know, wear a hat and sunglasses. No, I've never done that because I just think that's ridiculous. You know, the word celebrity has been so watered down, which is sort of the idea of this episode today, I've never, when you're in the daily newspapers, so you have to remember going back 15 years, the local news anchor, you know, the local reporter, the local radio guy or whatever would be a celebrity and they would be recognized somewhere. I remember going, where was I? I was with somebody. We were downtown Winnipeg, and I remember her name was Jennifer Rattray. She was the CBC news anchor, and I just remember, we saw her out, and me being a news person, I was kind of like, oh, that's Jennifer Rattray. And it kind of was like I wonder if people are approaching her. I wonder, you know, nobody was asking for autographs, but it was still kind of like that's so-and-so. You just kind of make note of that. So that happened to me a couple of times when I would go to the mall because my best-selling book, The Official Guide to Being a Winnipeg Cheapskate, was later a video series in the Winnipeg Free Press. And so I walked into the mall one day and I heard somebody say, that's that cheapskate guy. So I was also doing the media blitz. So if you didn't see me in the Free Press, you probably saw me on the morning shows. You know, I was everybody's cheapskate expert on saving money. And so, you know, it was kind of awkward too. you'd think, oh, well, he's bragging about, no, when you're known as that cheapskate, I mean, think about it that way, right? My whole cheapskate thing was about creative ways to save money, not penny pinch and like hold on to every single thing and don't spend. It was be creative or clever in the way that you spend so that you have more on luxury money or whatever. So people didn't quite understand it. But again, you go into a restaurant, oh, you're the cheapskate guy. Well, the person's going to think right away, well, I'm not getting a tip, so, screw this guy, which wasn't the case at all. My husband pays the bill, he tips. So I never felt the need to do social media, even when we were doing I didn't, and by the way, I think we were probably maybe almost 10 years into the show before I even had an Instagram account. So we were doing all these travel shows and red carpets and, celebrity things and whatever. We didn't have Instagram. So we were really behind on the times. And again, a big part of that is me going and saying, look, it's my company. It's my fucking show. I have no interest in, we already have our website. Like we already have these things. We don't need to put the exact same thing on this page, 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 on this page. It's not about time. It's about one is enough. We have our main website. We can go to that. And I also never wanted to be beholden to somebody, because if these platforms, hello MySpace, or something goes away, well, now all of that content that we've just spent 10 years uploading to that is now irrelevant, right? People can still go to jbonair.com and that's ours. We have it, right? So the stuff is still there. But over the past few weeks, I've been talking to you about, watching videos on YouTube, right? I've talked about the whole, tipping thing and people complaining about restaurants or customer service or whatever it is. And so I've had some emails with a bunch of you going back and forth. And I didn't realize it was such that YouTube and TikTok are such big, not cultures, what would be the word? Communities, I guess, or... community, I guess, is probably the right word. And what I mean by that is that, the people that are on the platforms kind of all like know each other. Let me go back to that local news thing. Back in the day, we all kind of know each other, right? Like I know, this person I know from the Free Press, or I know this person from the Winnipeg Sun or CTV or Global. Like, it's a small community in the media industry in Winnipeg. So on YouTube, obviously there's much more, there's a bigger creative community, I guess you'd call it. So they're already saying, "Okay, wrap this up. This was just supposed to be the intro and not." But I've been sent by a bunch of you listeners videos and accounts of people that are just going after other YouTube creators for, stealing content and things like that. So that's what we're talking about on the show now that we're 8 minutes in, and it starts on the Scribble right after this.
Isn't it crazy that you wait for payday, but before you know it, you're strapped for cash again? It's time to stop blowing your money and become a smart spender with the book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com. Learn simple ways to cut costs at home every day and during special times of the year. Don't go broke at Christmas. Don't remortgage the house for a fancy vacation. The book is filled with tips to save you money throughout the year. Check out the best-selling book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com or on Amazon and iTunes.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. Speak Free with JB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
JB here on the Scribble. All right, so I will first start this segment with an admission. I have never, ever been on TikTok. Never downloaded the app, never gone to, never clicked a link to open and says, hey, download the app. Never. Never. Now, I will, like let's say TMZ or something posts a story and then they embed somebody's TikTok. Okay, I guess a technicality. I've been on TikTok, right, via the TMZ website. But I've never downloaded the app. I've never signed up for it. I've never... So if you see me on TikTok, it's not me. Let me just put that out there. But I have no interest in it. Really, it goes back to what I was saying at the start of the show there. What I don't care to document and broadcast every minute of my life, and I don't care to see even people who I really enjoy and admire. I don't care what they're doing every minute of the day. So let's say that I don't subscribe to any YouTube channels or anything either, but there are ones that will, now that I've watched them, come up on my feed, right, when I open it on my TV. But I couldn't even name the people. Like, there's one woman who, she makes videos about just consumer issues. As I mentioned, I'm Winnipeg Cheapskate. So she goes on about, the rising costs of things or whatever, and she posts a bunch of people's videos and she reacts to them or she comments on what they're saying. Well, I just learned from you folks out there that is essentially theft. Now, yes, you might be using somebody's TikTok. So the person does a split screen. And I'm sure if you guys actually follow these things, you're like, dude, it's called this. Well, dude, yeah, it's called that. Or that's nothing new. It's new to me, all right? Because I have a life. I don't fucking care to sit and watch TikTok for, hours and hours and idolize these people. I've said before, when TMZ or People magazine or whoever puts a story about another TikToker is dead or YouTuber, an influencer is dead by suicide, I'm just like, I don't know who that is. I don't know, because back in the day, a celebrity meant that they were known by more than 500,000 people or 200,000 people. So to give these people this like elevated position or stance in society, that they're, influencer. It's like, yeah, but think about, okay, so 200,000 maybe is a lot-ish, but at the end of the day, how many other people who do greater things in the community who have either died in a car crash or whatever get such a shout out on TMZ, right? So the expectation is that the average viewer knows who this person is, and the reality is we don't. I'm on TMZ quite a bit because, like scrolling in TMZ quite a bit because I'm in the entertainment business, and so I love seeing when they get things wrong because TMZ has always sort of bragged about being, first and the inside scoop or whatever. Well, when they fucked up that whole Beyonce performing at Kamala, do you remember that? When it's like, oh, we've confirmed it. And when they had to walk that back, I loved it. That was delicious to me. So I scroll TMZ regular, and they've got so many fucking typos in the headlines now. It's great. I love it. So, so when I see that, influencer so-and-so is dead, I'm just kind of like, I don't know who that is. And okay, great. I mean, it's sad, sure, but it's not a household name. And so, so the woman that I watch, I was just talking about, and she does, so on the left side of the screen, she's showing somebody's TikTok rant about, let's say, the cost of groceries, okay? So she plays their video, and then she pauses their video, and then she starts talking and giving her opinion on it. So I was told that that's kind of a slimy thing to do, because basically you're compiling other people's content, and you're doing, sort of reaction videos. And I've heard about that where people will listen to a song for the first time, right? They'll maybe hear... I'm trying to think of who. Like, usually it's an old school artist that we older people all know, and then it's a younger person listening to it and go, "Oh my god, that's amazing." I can't remember who it was. I just remember seeing that one time. Or you hear like somebody hearing Adele for the first time, and they just have this reaction. So so apparently that's a lazy way of getting views and whatever, right? You're just using somebody else's content and you're reacting to it. But she also adds context and her own opinion, and she's funny at the same time. But apparently that's like a slimy thing to do, which is just, and I guess it is sort of in a way, a reaction video. You're basically using somebody else's video, and then you're just putting yourself on the corner of the screen, and you're doing, a mouth open, like, oh, jaw drop reaction. Meanwhile, it's over exaggerated because it's really not that big of a deal anyway. So in emails back and forth with you, I've heard that there's these like nasty feuds between, YouTubers and TikTokers where, everybody has these weird kind of dramatic setups, right? All these, prank videos or whatever it might be. Or I'm spending 24 hours in a haunted house, or I'm going and exploring a abandoned mall, or I'm doing... Well, I mean, those are a dime a dozen, really, right? So I think a big part of that now is your personality, and if you can carry a video like that. So there's compilations, or like a countdown of the top 10, worst YouTube thieves or whatever. And to see then that there's like these rivalries and they go back and forth and they message and post about each other and they tweet each other that, you stole my content and you stole my thumbnails or whatever, which, infringement or, intellectual property theft is a problem. Like, at least with our company, we just go right to Instagram if somebody takes our content and we're like, look, you've got 48 hours to take this off your platform or we're fucking suing your ass. And we've done that many times to Instagram. But we've got lawyers and stuff to do that for us. And really, in the grand scheme of things, it's when people will take a picture from our men's swimwear, page or whatever it is, and it's like, well, no, that's still our content and that's still our model, and he didn't agree to be on your page somewhere. So, but people just sort of feel this freedom because it's on the internet. I can just take it and repost it. It's like, well, not when a company has copyright material, and you can't really just do that. Sorry, and just by giving us credit, that still doesn't make it okay. You need express written permission, by the way. Let's be clear on that. And I don't know how many people have argued that, oh, well, it's on the internet. Well, then it's on your social media. Right, but it's on a personal social media page. But that still doesn't allow you to rebroadcast our content. It doesn't. And if you want to disagree with me, I will have our lawyers call you and you can fight it out. And believe me, we got a lot more money than you and we'll take you fucking down. And we play that game with Instagram. We sure do. We sure do. And they come back and say, well, we haven't provided sufficient evidence. That's fine. We'll fucking sue you. And then wouldn't you know it, the post is removed. So anyway, there's these rivalries and there's these like top 10 thieves and things. And I was fascinated because I was watching this in the bathtub. I've said about our morning routine at the house where, we'll wake up at 10:30, 11 o'clock because I'm retired now. And so my husband will he'll do the gym for 2 hours and I'll do the bath, and that's where I'll catch up on emails and things like that. And so these emails that I get from you, and it's links to check out this one or this takedown of this person or how or what was one that I saw the other day, the biggest downfalls, like the people who have had they went from peak content creator to then just shame, and they now they're in hiding because one video screwed up their life or something is what the subject of the video was. And it's to me it's kind of funny because, first of all, there's a lot of money on the line if you have, 90 million subscribers or however many some of these people do. But at the same time, you also have to realize that this is fleeting, meaning it doesn't last forever. Look at me. I did 15 years hosting our syndicated radio shows. It's not that I was canceled. It's not that, the audience got bored of me. It's not that, for me, it was time. 15 years after, introducing top 40 music and then, celebrity guests and, sick of covering red carpets or whatever it was. And it's time, right? Now for us, we had national advertisers. We weren't relying on monetization from another platform. We had ad sales. We had, national advertisers. We had your Hershey's, your Wendy's, your Samsung. I mean, we had paid advertising for national brands, right? So we had a shit ton of money. And so it wasn't a matter of me being canceled. It was just a matter of it's run its course. And so that's really the exact same thing with any podcast, with any YouTube channel, with any, if there's one that you follow that you really like, check out and see how long they've been around. I don't know that you'll find very many that have been around for 10 plus years and continue posting on a regular basis and have a massive audience like that, save for somebody like Joe Rogan. I'm not talking about the big people like that. I'm talking about just these people that I was describing that do these reaction videos or these stupid, I'm going to spend a day in a haunted house thing. How maybe they've been around 4 or 5 years, that's fine. But eventually, yeah, you think about even the greatest TV shows, right? Friends, Seinfeld, they run out of, it's just, it comes to an end because it's a job. I think what these quote unquote influencers don't understand is that generally people don't stay at the same job. I mean, my parents were at their jobs for 30 years before they retired. I don't know my dad ever having a different job or my mom ever having a different job. My mom worked at a school when we were growing up. She worked at a school she moved to our elementary school, my brothers and me, when we were in elementary school, but she worked at another school. I don't know her to have any other job. Now, I'd heard that she did before the kids came around. I know that she worked at a glass company as a receptionist and blah, blah, blah. I know though, but I'm just saying, from the time that I was around to my brothers and we were growing up, they worked at the same place for 30 years. Not in the same field. My mom worked at the same school for 30 years before she retired. I've worked in the same industry, broadcasting, journalism, communications, whatever. But generally people will work, think about TV news or a newspaper. You're there for maybe 2-3 years. Very rarely is somebody still there 20 years. It's somebody who got there 20 years ago and might still be there. But somebody who's just coming in 2026 is staying at a job for a year, 2 years, and then going to another station or whatever it is. So this YouTube thing, I mean, I look at it and go, wow, these people are like really caught up. Like there's drama amongst these people. I don't know. It seems so like create the content, put it out there and whatever. I guess you should be defending your content if people are stealing it. But again, at the same time, I mean, ideas are ideas. If we, what's funny is that my 20 some years ago when I created my speakfreewithjb.com website, I would put a commentary and then I had a comment box and I wanted your thoughts on my opinion column. And this is before the days of newspapers having a comment section or articles having a comment section. So would my claim to fame be I created the comments thing? Nobody else was doing that before me, which is technically true. But do I go and say that everybody stole that from me? No, because I mean, whatever. It's people have an opinion and there's commenting. I mean, it was only a matter of time. But news was news, right? You didn't open it up for your audience to discuss it. You presented the news to them, you pushed it out, and that was it. But I was putting out an opinion and I wanted to know your thoughts on it. And so you could fill out the form and disagree with me or agree with me, whatever. And then I would post the responses to it. Yeah, I was the beginning of the comment section 20 some years ago. But again, I don't hold people to that and go, New York Times, you're copying me. TMZ, you're copying me. National Enquirer or whoever, I don't know. But yeah, there's these YouTube rivalries of people who just, kind of lash out. But at the end of the day, like I said, it's a job, it's a career, it's not your life. It might be a lifestyle, but you're going to outgrow it. Look at music artists. Look at how they have to change it. Spice Girls, when they started out, Justin Bieber was the cute little kid, and then all of a sudden he's like some gangster thug who's getting high and, messed up out of his tree. I mean, the longevity there. And that's somebody who's, big time world famous that everybody knows. But, a YouTuber with 1 million, I mean, that seems like a lot, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not really, right? Now, 300,000 listeners for me on North American radio stations, that is big. We didn't necessarily have global reach, starting out. So, but when you look at it and go 1 million subscribers on YouTube, that's for the entire world. So, you know what? That's actually not really a big number. Once you've opened the floodgates or the playing field to now you have an unlimited, you have now an audience potentially of billions. Well, 1 million subscribers is a drop in the bucket. Like, of course people don't know who the hell you are. Now, mention the name Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt, Jennifer Aniston, Julia Roberts. Yeah, they're going to have 40, 50, 60 million, well, maybe they would, I don't know. But I'm just saying they're going to be known worldwide. And that's just because they've been around a long time. They've made some really good products, and they've earned that, right? They've got it. But it's weird, though, that there's this expectation that because, some influencer, TikToker, whatever, dies, that it makes it onto TMZ as though we know who this person is. And, the comment section is sort of funny at times because you'll have the people who are, oh, it's sad and sorry for their loss or the family's loss and what have you. And then there's the people who just go on and go, who the fuck is that? I don't know, but that's the reality of it, though, right? If I were to read one of those stories and say, okay, John Smith from TikTok died. Now I'm going to go and call 10 people that I know. I'm going to call 10 people. Do you know who John Smith is on TikTok? Nope. Do you know who John Smith is on TikTok? Nope. Do you know who John Smith? Nope. All right, well, there we go. Now, if I call those same 10 people, and say, do you know who Celine Dion is? Okay. Do you know who Kelly Clarkson is? Okay, good. Good. Okay. Yeah. Good. All right. Got it. Yeah. Like, it's just not the same. So the dramatics and the behind the scenes, fighting and bickering, it was entertaining to me because I'm looking at that and going, wow, some of this shit is really petty, because everybody, as you see, they have their little camera set up in their bedroom or their basement or whatever it is. They might have the string Christmas lights in the background because, that's a clear indication that you live with parents still. And they're just so serious. They've got the big giant headphones. They've, got their little set, their, TV set, production studio. And they're just laying into these, other TikTokers and bashing them, and he steals content and blah, blah, blah. And I sit there going, wow, this is fascinating because it's this infighting and they're, going after each other. Meanwhile, I have no idea who any of the fuck these people are. It's true, though. It's true. I just watched one the other morning, like I said. So it was the subject was something about people whose YouTube career was ended with one video or something to that effect. Basically, like one video took them down kind of deal. And I'm sitting there going, I have no idea who any of these fucking people are. So as the video is playing, I'm now going to, I don't know if I Googled their names or Wikipedia it or whatever it was that I did. And I'm reading, like these bios, and it's just kind of funny because I was like, not a clue. Not a clue who these people are. Don't know. But it sounds very petty to me because I think back, okay, so if you were doing this in a corporate setting, which we do it here, it's one thing to go and say, oh, well, this station or this show, stole our content, whatever, or stole our idea. Well, again, I mean, think about any person who's written a book or, a song or whatever. I mean, stealing an idea, I mean, really, I think any TV show that's being, every show is now kind of a spin-off or a knockoff of something, right? Is there really anything original anymore? Sure, there's a handful of things, but I mean, there's on a sitcom or on a show, on a comedy, there's always gonna be the dumb person, there's always gonna be the slut, there's always gonna be the, it's pretty cookie cutter when it comes to things now. So, but it's interesting how they just kind of go for each other and they try to turn other YouTubers against, like it's this kind of mob thing. And it's fascinating for me who's, in my almost mid 40s at this point and go, wow, it's so fucking juvenile. But that's that generation, right? So the common theme that I did see in that video of the takedowns or the one video that ruined their lives or whatever it said was that these were all people in their 20s. And so that's what's crazy to me, though, is this is what they've grown up knowing, right? And when I read the statistics about how many people want to be a YouTuber, like the career back in the day used to be you wanted to be a doctor, a lawyer, a firefighter, rock star, a football player, whatever you wanted to be. Now it's content creator, influencer, YouTuber. And I sit there thinking, oh boy. Because again, it's the longevity. The reality of it is it's not a sustainable career. And you're going to find that if you do initially hit that peak and you kind of get that viral, status or whatever you want to call it, maybe the money comes in fast and furious, but at the same time, you're going to get reckless with it. You're going to blow it. How many times do we see like, oh, I just bought this Corvette. Oh, I just bought this. And who was that dude that did that? They're going to tell me the name because I remember laughing at him. It was this big scandal that he did a walkthrough of a mansion that he says that he bought, and then all of a sudden he was on TMZ because he owed rent. Say the name again. Todrick Hall. Todrick or Rod? What did you say? Todrick Hall. Hall? All right. Anyway, some guy I'd never heard of until I saw him. I think he was on Big Brother, Celebrity Big Brother. That's another thing that makes me kind of go like, I don't know who these people are. And I'm not necessarily out of touch. There's just too many of them. Like, how can you, I don't know. So yeah, I mean, you're going to run out of steam. You're going to blow your money. You're going to, at some point, as that guy did, Todrick dude, is now he's got his wish list on Amazon and he wants people buying him shit. It's like, wait a second, you just said that you just bought this incredible mansion and now you're wanting us to buy you paper towels for it? Okay, great. So there's this, this veil of illusion and smoke screens or whatever of how big and how successful. But at the end of the day, I mean, well, that's where I would go and say, why are we seeing them all killing themselves lately on TMZ? Is it really that glam of a lifestyle? Apparently they're not happy with it. So that's, this isn't about me ranting about influencers. This is about me saying I didn't realize that it was this big community of, they all kind of watch each other, and then you stole my idea and this and that, and then they do comparisons. And I mean, you can do that with almost, any book storyline, right? I mean, so I don't know. It's comical to me, but as I was saying, but these people in their 20s, I mean, this is their adult life. This is how they're growing up, is, it's all digital. It's all online. It's all on these social media platforms. Imagine if they took it. I actually did think about writing a book about this, where, a city just outlaws social media altogether. I mean, it's kind of a reality in some parts of the world, right? In the, North Korea or China or whatever, where, I mean, it's limited, right? It's censored, it's restricted. But all of a sudden, a city just votes and says, okay, no social media. Nobody ever again, no social media in this town. Your apps aren't going to work. And what that would do, would people just, would there be chaos? Would there be this all of a sudden mass depression? Would people just flee the city and go somewhere else? Or would they cope and go, hey, you know what? Let's go back to the way things were 20 years ago. I thought about writing a book like that, and just to see, and not even have it necessarily mapped out, but just kind of play it out and go, I wonder how this would go. I wonder, so normally when you write a book, you have a beginning, middle, and end, and then you start putting pen to paper or finger to keyboard, and, you have, you generally have a good sketch outline of what it's going to take. But that would be one where I would just kind of go, I'm just going to make it up as I go along. I'm just going to sit and type and see what comes of it, because, the 20-year-olds, like, what would they be doing? I think back to when I was, 15, 16, 17, we were, kids out at the lake. We didn't have phones, right? So we were going out and doing stuff. We were outside almost all day. I mean, that's just what you did. Whether we were walking around, or we went to the beach, or we went to the park, or we were playing soccer, or maybe we would go on a cruise. We would, take somebody drive out on the highway, and we would go somewhere into town or something. And then at night we would, have a fire out at the night. Somebody would have a guitar. We'd be singing along, but no phones. There wasn't any of that kind of stuff. And our lives were also just very innocent. There was no, it wasn't drugs. There was no drama. There was no backstabbing. I don't know. Like, I wouldn't want to be in my 20s now. This is the funny thing, right? Everybody always says, getting older. You know what? I'm happy being in my 40s. I wouldn't want to be in school nowadays. I wouldn't want to be in my early 20s nowadays. I'm fine. I own houses. I'm, settled in my life. My 40s, I don't know. The youngsters can make fun of it, but I'm just saying, you know what? I'm happier in my 40s than I would be in my 20s, given in this society, in this day and age. Definitely big time. Yeah. Make fun of me all you want, but that's fine. Hey, 23-year-old who's making fun of me, great. But at what age are you going to own your first house? Because I was already shopping for mine at 23, 24 years old, bought it at 25. So, you can make fun of me for being old, but hey, we had it better back then. We really did. So anyway, so YouTubers, I didn't realize that it was like this big society or this mob or such a big community. And it's, I think that I like not knowing that, really. It truthfully, like I said, it gave me a laugh to watch that video of the takedowns, but I just sit there going, wow, I live in the real world. I'm not, hunched over, and there's this, society of people that are out to get me. And, it was one thing to host a radio show where, okay, I sit there, I talk, you get the emails, and, sometimes we'd have people call in or whatever. But after the show, I was done. It wasn't something that followed me home. It wasn't something, I wasn't constantly bombarded. I would choose to look at those emails when I'm sitting in the office or whatever it is. I wasn't at 11:30 at night getting emails from listeners and reading them and whatever. No fucking way. Nope. Because it was a job, right? I mean, so with this YouTube thing, and the people, I applaud them for putting in such creativity, right? And scripting things and shooting it and editing it and whatever. But again, like, have a backup plan, because once it's over, I mean, and it will be over. It will be. You're going to have the odd... Oh, Mr. Beast. I've heard of this Mr. Beast dude because I've seen him on TV shows, but I've never even seen a video. I don't know. But apparently he's like the biggest YouTuber out there. And that's a symptom of being old or out of touch or whatever. But again, I'm fine with that. Because I'm not having meltdowns. I'm not having feuds with people that I stole this content. It's like, because I'm living in the real world. That's all I need. We're going to take a quick break, and then I will sum up with some other thoughts on the Scribble right after this.
Who are the Kardashians feuding with now? What did that little thug Justin Bieber do this time? Who's getting hitched? And who's headed for Splitsville? Hear the latest celebrity news and gossip every day on Entertainment Wrap-Up. The good, the bad, the ugly, but mostly the ridiculously hilarious. It's all recapped in this daily segment at entertainmentwrapup.com. Have a laugh at the expense of the rich and famous when they take themselves way too seriously. It's 3 minutes of time-wasting fun at entertainmentwrapup.com. Check out Entertainment Wrap-Up at entertainmentwrapup.com. Brought to you by Speak Free Books.
It's never too early to start thinking about your next holiday. Have you checked out Mexico recently? From tequila tasting, swimming with horses, to ziplining through the jungle and watching whales and dolphins in their natural habitat, Puerto Vallarta has it all. Visit mexico.jbonair.com to see all the fun PV has to offer. That's at mexico.jbonair.com for hundreds of photos, interviews, and videos from around the tourist hotspot. Check out mexico.jbonair.com for all the fun. That's mexico.jbonair.com.
JB here on The Scribble. In our final remaining moments, they were also just reminding me during the break that our podcast is on YouTube, coincidentally. And I didn't know that because it's audio, but apparently you can have audio podcasts on YouTube. So look at that. I learned something during the show as I'm mocking YouTube content creators. Although, again, in fairness, we've been creating this show for a lot longer than the podcast has been on YouTube. So anyway, it's just another platform for you to listen to us. So if you're listening on YouTube, hi everybody. Anyway, feel free, give me a shout. I want to hear your thoughts on this whole YouTube culture, TikTok culture. Have you been on TikTok, and how old are you? If you're in your 40s and your 30s and your maybe late 20s and you've never been on TikTok, I want to hear from you and tell me why. Live, Live at jbonair.com, live at jbonair.com. My name is Jeremy Bradley. This is The Scribble. I will talk to you all next time. Bye-bye for now.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up The Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter at The Scribble Show and at thescribbleshow.com. Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter at The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a Speak Free media presentation.